Hello my loyal companions, welcome back to the channel and to another episode of Rogue Revealed, the series where I take you through everything you need to know about Rogue Company. In today's video I want to go over something that I think is really underrated in the game at the moment, and that is the use and effective use of melee weapons. If you do go on to enjoy the video or learn something new, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the channel, but for now, let's get into it. Okay, so melee weapons are something that, even when I first started playing, I didn't rate very highly. I didn't think they were particularly useful. I thought they were kind of a waste of money, spending 4,000 to buy it, and then another 4,000 to upgrade it fully. Just didn't seem super worth it. But as time's gone on, and I've adapted as a player, and I've learned different play styles, and I've learned how quick firefights can happen in this game when you're at the highest level, I've sort of started to appreciate melee weapons a little bit more, and in this video I'm going to explain to you why I think that, and how best to use them in the right scenarios. So why are melee weapons so good? Well, the honest answer is they're a one-shot kill when you throw them, and that is so incredible in this game. This game is a fairly long time to kill unless you're talking about SMGs at really close range. So having a one-shot kill potential is really valuable, particularly with the fast-paced nature of the game. You need to get kills quickly. Sometimes you can get rushed by 1, 2 or 3 people, and getting an instant kill there so you can then move on to the next target is really important. And that's where I use the melee weapons the most. The power of that one-shot down potential is so important, especially when you get into things like demolition, where you absolutely have to roll through teams, and that down really matters for your team to get the numbers advantage going forward. Unless you're no-scope headshotting people with Phantom at close range, the best close range version of a one-shot kill is using these melee weapons. If you want to know the specific difference between the melee weapons and how you upgrade them, I actually have a video of that here on the channel where I break down each of them and tell you the best scenarios for each one specifically. For a quick rundown though, the bat is the best one for actually swinging with the weapon rather than throwing it, although throwing it is just as viable. The axe is the best for throwing, which especially with the upgrades which increases throw speed, and the katana is the best for just a general versatility. If you tune into my live streams, you'll see how often I actually use the melee weapons and how important they are to my play, because especially like when you're running solos and you're a good player, your teammates aren't always up to par with that and they're kind of getting killed a lot. You're in clutch scenarios, and you'll see how the melee weapons, I use them there to help me win those fights. So when should you buy a melee weapon in the game? Because you got a lot of money throughout the game, when should you prioritize that melee weapon? Well, you can buy it first round. Personally, I don't like it. It's okay, but it's a pistol round anyway. They tend to be over pretty quickly, and melee weapons aren't going to help massively with that. And you probably want to buy some form of utility first anyway. There are not many rogues where getting a melee weapon straight off the bat is better than getting some form of utility in their kit. So first round, probably a no-go. It's okay. If you really don't like using utility, then maybe use the melee weapon. You'll win more fights that way, but you're probably going to be less effective as a player because utility just overall is better than anything. Then you go into round 2, where realistically in demolition you're not going to have enough money to get your primary weapon and something else for 4,000 unless you've got 12 grand. If you've got 12 grand, then I would recommend getting your main weapon, and then you can potentially buy a melee weapon. But after that, as you start trickling through the rounds, you have to look at your money and think, okay, what is high priority? Are perks high priority? Which perks are high priority? Is more gadgets or more upgrades into the gadgets high priority? Or should this melee weapon be priority? And generally, unless your perks that you're thinking about are core, like tenacity or lifeline or life drain or replenish or something like that, which you need, then probably go for the melee weapon just to have it in your back pocket. The best way to explain this is probably by an example. So I'm going to put up Dahlia and show you how I would prioritize her kit with the melee weapon as Dahlia. So round 1, what am I going to do? It's Dahlia, so I'm probably going to get some form of utility, probably either a grenade or smoke grenade, depending on what the scenario calls for. That would be my first purchase, then I go into the first round. At the end of that round, going into the second round, I'm going to buy my primary weapon. For me, that's going to be the MXR. That's my weapon of choice at the moment, and that's a great one to pair that melee weapon with. I'm most likely not going to have enough to get anything else additional to that. If I did, and I had another 4,000, that's when I would buy the melee weapon on that round. If I had the extra money, if I really fragged out first round, then I would buy the melee weapon. But most of the time, that's not going to be happening. Going into the third set of buys, you'll always be able to buy tenacity on that round, but if you have enough money to get lifeline, you should prioritize lifeline. If you do that, you're not going to have a lot of spare money left over, so you'll have to wait on getting that melee weapon. Going into the fourth round of buys, then you'll have a lot more money on this round because you'll have some saved up from the lifeline purchase. So you always want to get tenacity here. That perk is priority over the melee weapon, and then if you have spare money, that's when you should get the melee weapon on this round. Going then into the later rounds, you want to be picking up your second gadget as soon as possible, probably upgrading the smokes to full, Then looking at getting at least the first 2 upgrades into your weapon, and then replenish is always a good shout if you need it. I wouldn't rate probably getting any of these other things. You can, if you have a lot of money for that last round, for example, fully upgrade the katana. That's always a good shout, and then maybe get your full pistol upgrade or your full grenade upgrade if that's what you choose as well. But that's generally the way. That's the point at which you should buy that melee weapon, around the 4th buy. If you can get Lifeline instead, Lifeline is the priority, then Tenacity is priority, then you can look at getting the melee weapon. So as you sort of trickle through those rounds and you're sort of balancing your priority on different rogues, that's when you can decide if you want the melee weapon. But not every rogue, every situation calls for the melee weapon, so don't just automatically get it. The type of scenarios where I use melee weapons most often is when I know I'm taking a longer range gun like a DMR, a longer range AR, or obviously the sniper with Phantom. Having this melee weapon in your back pocket when you normally are playing a longer range playstyle means that if you get flanked or if you end up in a clutch scenario where you're going to have to be fighting people rushing at you, you're going to need some sort of close range engagement, and the melee weapons are perfect for this. You just sit behind your cover wherever you are, beam some people as they cross towards you with your longer range weapon, and when someone does get close, you hold the third person peek, and as they come round, you hit them with the melee weapon. You can buy a melee weapon with shorter range guns as well, but generally, if you're using something like an SMG, you're so close range anyway that the melee weapon isn't as useful. You're not going to switch from an SMG to a melee weapon halfway through the fight to get the kill. In that point, it only comes in clutch when you're trying to 1v3 or kill multiple people at the same time and you're sort of in between reloading. For example, I don't really rate the melee weapon on Lancer. I don't see the massive use for it. She never really runs out of bullets. She has an SMG for close range. That sort of fulfills the role of the melee weapon. But someone like Dahlia or Trench or Phantom, of course, having that melee weapon in your back pocket is so good. So how specifically should you use the melee weapon? Well, the easiest way to use it and the safest way to use it is to hold a third person peek, wait for an enemy to come at you, peek around the corner, throw the melee weapon and duck back into cover. That is one really good way of using it. Play your third person, play your cover, and get instant down from there. That's the most common way to use it, and by far the safest way in terms of actually being able to hit the melee weapon, because of course it takes quite a lot of aim to be able to hit that melee weapon consistently. But you can use it aggressively, and this is far more risky and you're far more likely to die trying. My most common one is when I know somebody else is holding a corner. So if we're like behind the same piece of barricade, they're on their end, I'm on my end. What I'll do is I'll switch to my melee weapon, I'll run around the corner, I'll tend to jump and throw it, and just beam them with the melee weapon from there. The reason I do this is just because it's the easiest way to get the kill. I'm not having to risk the gunplay, particularly if I know I've got a longer range weapon or a mid-range weapon, they've got an SMG. The only real chance I have about playing this situation is by a good melee weapon throw and killing them like that. So you can use it defensively or aggressively. Defensively is the most common one, but aggressively, if you learn how to use it and you practice with this, can be really useful. Something you have to be careful of when you are using melee weapons is actually that if enemies have headstrong, for the majority of melee weapons until you upgrade them, you're not going to do enough single shot damage to kill them. So by the time that you're buying a melee weapon and you're trying to get these kills, if they have more than 100 health, you're going to go into trouble. You need to start upgrading them to do that extra thrown damage, and the bat doesn't upgrade to do more than 100 thrown damage. It does more swing damage, which is really good, but it won't do extra thrown damage, which is really what you need for these sort of clutch scenarios. The only ones that will deal enough damage to kill someone with armor is the katana when you fully upgrade it to give it 125 damage, and the axe when you fully upgrade it to give it 150 damage. The katana actually only needs 1 upgrade, whereas the axe needs 2, but they're still really good. They only cost 2,000 extra per upgrade, which is actually really good. Once you've bought that, if you do have sort of like 3,000 or 3,500, like you can often have at the end of a round, putting just 1 point into that can be really useful. Now, whilst melee weapons are really good and you should look to incorporate them in your kit in places, they are not the highest priority. I did mention it earlier, but prioritize your major perks, your major gadgets, and your weapons and weapon upgrades before you prioritize the melee weapon, unless it makes a lot of sense and you're feeling like you're needing it. They're phenomenal for clutching out, they're phenomenal for using close range engagements when you have a longer range weapon, but they're not imperative to your play. I just think they're really good and really underrated for what they can do. And again, you tune into my live stream, you'll see how often I use them, how often I do clutch out with them. Just don't prioritize them over something really crucial like tenacity. Okay then guys, that's going to take us to the end of the video. If you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can also come follow me on twitch.tv/RadtharGaming to see live gameplay commentaries, Q&As, guides and tournaments. All the links you're going to need for that are down in the description below. But for now guys, I hope you have a fantastic day, and remember, be loyal, be brave, be relentless, and I'll catch you in the next video.